All right, so I contemplated starting this topic of the God of social media by asking everybody to post for a selfie so I could put on my gram and maybe my Snap, but I realized that that was only feeding into my problem. So I do have a problem with social media. I actually only checked it once since this conference started, and I'm starting to get like the DTs. So it's a problem. So the God of social media, we have all probably had to spend a little bit more time on social media this past, these last 15 days to flatten the curve. Since the C19er showed up. That's just I'm totally stealing that from you, Scott. I like it. The C19er. Yeah. So talking about the God of social media, I'm kind of slaughtering a sacred cow of my own, and maybe yours as well. And the best way to deal with false gods is to, attack them a little bit, maybe head on, flank them a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to come up with an answer to my problem or your problem, but at least I'm getting it out there. So it's kind of like going to a support group. So you guys are going to help me kind of get through my addiction to the God of social media. And I think I put it in this paper at some point that maybe I'll get to go home a changed, untethered man, and my wife will thank you all for this opportunity. But we'll see. So when it comes to idolatry, we've been talking about the false gods, right, of safety, of happiness, now social media. When it comes to any issue of idolatry and false gods, the item in question is seldom the real issue, right? Safety is not a problem in and of itself, right? Being happy, not a problem in and of itself. Social media, not a problem in and of itself. The danger is actually within us. See, the danger with any sort of thing is the level of authority or control or power that we give to the thing, whatever the thing might be. The danger is also found in when we place our identity or we find our identity in the thing, right? Whatever the thing might be. Now, for this purpose of this talk, the thing is social media. If we find our peace in what the thing offers, or we attach our purpose to it, that becomes the problem. And so this topic, the God of social media, was birthed somewhat out of my wife's constant pointing out that I have a problem. She often starts conversations with, we should put your phone down when I was talking to you. I'm like, well, that's a weird way to start a conversation. I think I'm fine. I don't have a problem. I can stop social media anytime I want. There's people that have it far worse than I do. I don't do it when I drive. I don't do it when I'm on the airplane. I don't do it a lot of times, actually. It's really only 3 to 4 hours of my day. Not all at once either. Because, I have plenty of time still to hit the gym, go to jujitsu, do church work, teach stuff. I'm doing just fine. But I still think that there's an issue, perhaps, that I have with social media. And I don't even know if it's the time spent. I think when we think about the God of social media, the issue is far deeper than just amount of time spent using it, right? So my smartphone, as I mentioned in the beginning of this talk, has this time tracker on it. I just discovered it not that long ago. And it gleefully displays at the end of the day my digital failure, right? How much time did you spend on the internet? And I consider it a failure because any time I spend on the internet, I'm not spending time with my family. I'm not spending time engaging with people that are in front of me. I'm not working out. I'm not reading. I'm not getting better in any way, shape, or form. I'm not happy, not satisfied with who I am, right? And I don't think we should ever really be satisfied. I think we should always keep moving forward, even keep trying harder. But we'll talk about that more as the whiskey pours. So between the time on my phone and then the fact that when I'm sometimes in my office, I'll have Facebook. I've got one of those multi-screen monitor system setups to be more productive. I can have Facebook dedicated to its own monitor at my desk so that if someone pops up or someone comments or someone posts something really awesome, I can be one of the first ones to like it. Not because I want to be the first one to like it, but because I want to support my friends who post great memes and stuff. So it's a grim picture, right? I'm painting a grim picture of my social media addiction. This God that has its own place on my desk. Now, social media creates a constant portal for the outside world to reach us. At any time, someone can reach out to you on social media. You feel the vibration, you hear the ding. What do? You pull out your phone. I think you mentioned Mr. Zoll's book, Seculosity, and he talks about technology, and he has this great image in that book, Seculosity, of two people back in the day when telephones were brand new, having a conversation, and he's like, and the phone rings, and I go and answer it. And someone's on the other side, and he said, so like a servant, like answering the door. Back then, if someone rang your doorbell, you didn't get up to ring your doorbell. You had a servant, perhaps, that would do that. Back in, what was his name? Alexander Graham Bell. So you've got a portal for the outside world to reach you at any time and any place, right? We all perhaps have lamented the fact that you go on vacation, but you're not really on vacation because work can find you and people from back home can find you. And I think even more insidious than that is social media is a constant portal for me, maybe for you as well, to find distractions, try and make connections, to find fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction with your day. So when it dings, you respond quickly. Like Pavlov's dogs, I think we've all been, perhaps to some degree, conditioned by the phone in our pocket, the app on the desktop, whatever it is that you social media on, we've been conditioned. And I think in the age of Rona, the false god of social media has only gotten worse. Its call has grown louder, more prevalent. And what it offers to the world seems a bit darker. Remember when MySpace first came out, it was a place for friends to hang out. Remember when Facebook came out, it was only for college kids. And then all the adults showed up and changed that. And suddenly it's grandma sharing pictures of cats and commenting on your post. I'm trying to get a hold of you. Please call me. Grandma, seriously. But now it's become a bit darker, right? It's more destructive. And not just censorship or shadow banning, not even the gossiping and bullying that can take place. Our poor teenage kids these days, I from what I've gathered, there's never an opportunity for them to escape the people that bully them at school. That's there. The age of Rona has also given rise to an ever-growing marketplace on social media, where not only can you buy goods and products from other people, you've got the creepiness of having a conversation with someone and then suddenly having advertisements show up in your feed for whatever you were just talking about. Like earlier today, Paul and I were talking about Whoop, I think it was, some sort of fitness tracking device. And now suddenly my phone is giving me advertisements for this product that I'm pretty sure I need. I'm probably going to buy it. Father's Day is coming up and I need to get healthy. All right. But social media not only does that, it has expanded into an arena where there are regular, everyday people, some who you would never imagine, perhaps, in looking at them, have now begun selling their bodies for money and attention, likes, hearts, comments, and even sex in the form of that pay-to-play site, OnlyFans. Don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it's out there. I need to just put that disclaimer out there. I didn't want anybody like, how does he know about such things? I have to tell you, I'm a chaplain to Marines. I hear stuff. Just leave it at that. Now, before you guys all write me off as the aging guy complaining about the internet, I will admit that the interwebs are not all wickedness and evil. There is good that comes from social media. Family connections, closing the distance between loved ones, memes, the glorious memes. Can't tell you how many groups I'm a part of that are dedicated solely to the distribution of memes. I mean, that's the real champion in the age of coronavirus, is the meme makers. I wish I had an app that made memes so that I could join their ranks, but then my phone use would swing in the wrong direction. So during the age of Rona, we've also seen the benefit of the gospel proclamation flooding social media as churches kind of ventured for the first time into this digital world. We had all sorts of pastors like myself who never had intentions of going online with church, now setting up. And if you saw our setup when we first started, it was my phone taped to a pedestal set up in the center of the church because it was only going to last 2 weeks. Why invest in anything that's going to be 2 weeks? That's a whole nother topic. So the gospel proclamation certainly started to flood social media, but to be honest, I'm not 100% sure that all that online church stuff has actually been a good thing. I cringe when people tell me that they love that they can pull up Facebook and watch church running in the background where they sip their coffee, fold their laundry, do other chores around the house. That's not what this is for. And so I wonder if in many cases, online church services have been a bit of an exercise in casting pearls before swine, throwing the gospel out there for people that don't appreciate it, for people that it's just a background noise or a thing to do while doing something else. Now, no doubt, it is 100% bad. It's not 100% bad, but it's created a lot of serious issues. And I think some of the issues that social media and online stuff, especially church, has created are going to last for a while. And I don't know if everybody's been bold enough to tackle it. Our Ringside podcast has tackled it a lot, so much that we kind of feel like maybe we need a moratorium on solving this problem because it's been talked about for, well, what are we at the 390th anniversary of 12 Days to Flatten the Curve. So some of you have probably heard our laments on the Ringside podcast if you listen. But when it comes to the social media false god in this post-COVID age, I think trying to identify it at first seems a bit like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Social media, we can talk about the time it takes away. We can talk about the other aspects, and that all seems like the easy stuff. But social media has created this expectation in all of us, right? Social media, whether that be Facebook or Instagram or Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or whatever, has created an expectation in all of us that we're supposed to be comfortable in the presence of each other's absence, right? Like, think about it, right? The expectation you need to be comfortable in the presence of someone else's absence. We're tricking each other into thinking that we're present, but we're not. We're not there to be able to do these things. And we're told that it's the same, and it's exhausting. Being in a Zoom conversation with other people gets exhausting after a while as you watch the squares, and you're like, it's like watching the beginning of the Brady Bunch. You're like, who's talking now? Now I'm dating myself. But the low-hanging fruits for social media is false deification. The easy ones are the distraction, right? Social media distracts us from our life's goals. We could lament the way social media keeps us constantly distracted from things that actually matter in this world, right? Does it really matter if I like that post from some guy I haven't talked to since high school 20 some years ago? Is he really going to have hurt feelings that I didn't like his post? Probably not. So why do I think it's important to do, right? We all know how social media snatches away precious time from family and friends. You've probably all sat at a restaurant, looked over at a table, and seen everybody on their phones. You're like, well, that's really sad. I should take a picture of that and post it on social media, lamenting it, right? And I know that I'm a guilty one. I'm probably one of those ones that when the middle of a conversation is going on and I'm not the one talking, pull out the phone to see something's got to be more interesting than me not talking right now. So it's not that. I'm not that bad. We know that social media kills productivity in work and in life. We've probably all heard stories of families and marriages that were destroyed by social media. I had a relative that caught up with an old girlfriend back in the days of AOL Instant Messenger and never saw that uncle again. But he's married, old girlfriend. I know that I always bear the guilt of wanting to scroll whichever platform it is because I'm afraid of missing out on something, right? Like, there's got to be something in there, whether it's someone gossiping about me that I need to squash, someone saying bad stuff about the church they need to attack, or the fear of missing a really great article by one of my brother writers over at the Jagged Word, or something that I wish I should share or really should share, right? So that fear of missing out kind of drives us as well. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that social media in some way or another has the potential to rob each and every one of us of who God created us to be if we let it, right? Those negative impacts of social media, I think all of them are pretty easy to see. And I don't think any of you all came up here today to hear me state something so obvious, right? You're like, okay, this is the low-hanging fruit. We're all nodding in agreement on these things. So let's go deeper. What's behind it all? What's the actual problem that is behind an addiction to social media or the false god of social media? I mean, social media is just a tool, and the tool is always just the tool. It's inanimate. It has no mind of its own. It has no power of its own except what we give to it or what we do with it. You see, the issue always comes down to us. The issue is attached to the power and the reign over us that we so easily give to the thing. And in this case, social media and the many, many options that are out there. Not long ago, I was reading a book. It was actually an interesting read by a guy who wrote a book about Bonhoeffer, but the book was 7 lessons from Nazi Germany that the American church needs to learn, or something like that. And inside the book, the author quotes another guy, R.J. Rushdoony, who said this: when you choose an authority, which I suppose might include denying God's authority, you choose your God, right? So where you look for your law, your guiding principles, your values, behind that is your God. Behind every system of law, there's a God, a ruler. It could be the individual, right? We the people. It could be the government. It could be the courts, regulations regarding health and safety, expectations and rules for happiness. It could be our personal egos. But when it comes to social media, the authority and the rule is ultimately the court of public and popular opinion, right? Social media is governed and guided by mob rule, and often it's unspoken. It's all carefully created to adhere to a system of arbitrary laws. Follow them or else. Consider just a few of the spoken and maybe unspoken laws of social media. Likes. Whose stuff can you really like, right? I got called out in a circuit counselor's office because I like to post about whiskey. Didn't realize that the post made was by someone whose name was Buxom Blonde or something. It was a post about whiskey, and I liked it. Didn't realize who posted it, though. Whose stuff can you like? Can you like something that if you've got an old girlfriend or boyfriend on your social media, can you like something they posted? I don't know. What about shares? Whose stuff can you share? I was appalled years ago when a lady would repost and share pictures that I had posted of my family and my kids. She would post them and say, here's my pastor and his family. Like, why are you doing this? I don't know any of your friends. Whose stuff can you share? What about tags? I have a setting on my thing that I can't be tagged in anything unless I approve it first, because I have a few folks that might tag me in some weird stuff. Going back to that whole chaplain to Marines thing. Can I tag you, chaps? Please don't. I got church folk that see that. Screenshots. When are they appropriate? When are they not? When are they used as weapons? Friend requests. I've grown to assume that if a beautiful woman sends me a friend request and we have no mutual friends, that it's probably ISIS. So not today, ISIS. ISIS is not good for your neighbor, right? Posts on your page. Who can and who cannot post publicly on your page? So there's all these authorities, all these rules, right? And who makes those rules? What's behind all those rules? Is it acceptance? Is it ego? Is it selfishness? Is it public opinion? Is it making sure we craft the right image of ourselves? And if that's the case, then what is the false god that's actually behind social media, right? Consider all the other authorities of our lives that we relinquish to the god of social media, right? What we post. Certain things will make you friends. Other things will destroy your standing in social groups, right? When you post things. If you post something at the wrong time of the day, nobody reads it. And then why'd you post it? Editing and filters, right? There's post a picture, you got like 52 different options for how you can make yourself look better in the filter. Bunny ears, little rabbit nose, whatever. Removing posts. I had someone force me to remove a post of mine because they thought it was not appropriate for a pastor to share a comedian making fun of the things that need to be canceled at the grocery store, like Oreo cookies and Rice Krispies and all these things. Like he posted it and I shared it. I thought it was great. And he said, I can't believe a pastor would share a post of such stuff like that. I didn't feel like arguing, so I got rid of it. Blocking people. Everybody knows the joy and the freedom of blocking somebody. And then setting privacy, friends of friends of friends only to see your stuff. Social media invades the sacred places of our lives, right? The God of social media shows up in places like the bedroom, the dinner table, a family outing, conversations, the gym. Oh my goodness, I'm glad I have a gym in my garage so I don't have to see people taking selfies next to the workout thing, except they post them on Instagram and then I see their selfies, which I don't know if that's worse than seeing them take the selfie. Anyone else get embarrassed when you get caught taking a selfie? It seems kind of weird. Like, oh my gosh, I just got caught taking a selfie. Oh, not really doing it. I was taking a picture over there. All right. Perhaps you've seen the anger in a friend or a spouse's eyes when you pick up the phone in the middle of a conversation. But then again, it probably goes unnoticed because you're engrossed in social media. See, the God of social media, I think what's behind it all isn't so much the social media, but the power we give it to define us, the authority we give it to give us an identity, right? And it's one that every bit of it has been carefully crafted and employed. The algorithms that determine who you are and who sees who you are. Some years ago, a guy by the name of Chap Clark wrote a book. He talked about the idea that so many of us are like standing in an open house with no furniture, no walls, holding a candle. And depending on who's looking through the window, they see a different version of us with our candle. Right? And it's always stuck with me that social media does something like that. An algorithm, certain people see certain things. We have certain personas in certain places. So I wonder, is the God of social media ultimately our ego? Is it the God of self? That polished, loved, accepted image of ourselves that we crave for the world around us to see and celebrate and share. In this post-COVID age, is the God of social media that ability to make digital connections safely without risking health and safety? I think ultimately social media is a tool, but the idolatry is when we connect the power and authority to define us that makes it suddenly a false God. Years ago, back before the vid, I used to take kids up in the mountains of North Carolina. It was a great time. Not only was there no cell phone signal whatsoever up there, but we confiscated every electronic device that they brought. And I relished standing there with a basket, smiling and telling all the teenagers, don't worry, in just a few days, I'll give you your God back. I don't think the kids were amused. And the other adults, weren't either. The other pastors thought it was great, but the moms and dads who were there with their social media devices, they weren't very amused. Some of them even cried at the thought of being without social media. What am I supposed to do 6 days without my friends liking my posts? And yet by the end of the week, they appreciated being disconnected. They interacted with other people face to face. They made new friends. They enjoyed God's beautiful creation. And they realized for that moment what social media had taken away from them. I believe in this post-COVID age, social media has many of us totally immersed in it, perhaps chasing an identity, maybe some of us chasing distractions from life, trading real moments for digital experiences, offering finely crafted options in a world that is anything but finely crafted because of sin. And through it all, social media seems to isolate people from true connection. It isolates them from real contact and human relationships. And the sad thing is, to say such a thing is considered offensive. It sparks emotional, negative responses. Not long ago, I told a young person from the church that social media wasn't a true connection. And then I received a long tirade about how social media connections are more real than any connections they have anywhere else. And I fear that COVID has only increased this tendency and this draw, creating connections that last as long as it takes you to click a mouse or to click block or unfriend or unfollow or whatever it is on that platform. In researching this topic, I stumbled across all sorts of suggestions for breaking the grasp of social media. Most of them came from fundamentalist sources, Most of the suggestions were lacking the gospel and betrayed a misunderstanding of vocation. They all ask the question, if you wake up and the first thing you do is you grab your phone, then that's your God. Like, that's silly. My alarm clock is on my phone, right? So of course I have to grab my phone. Otherwise, everybody in my house here's Jocko Willing telling me to get up and get after it. And my wife does not like to hear another man's voice in the bedroom saying, where does discipline come from? Yeah. Poor girl puts up with a lot. So what are we supposed to do about the false god of social media? How do we put it to death? How do we wrestle ourselves away from its grasp? How can I go home from this semester of community college an untethered man? I think we start by recognizing the dangers and the draws, admitting that there are dangers there, there are draws there, and our distractions, they're far beyond the time, but rather the identity that we seek there. We need to recognize when you find your peace or your comfort or your joy or your hope in a digital world. And when you realize that, repent. Be aware of your individual propensity, however great it might be, to find your identity in the things of social media. And then find comfort in the identity that you have received, not from followers or influencers or digital algorithms, but the identity that you have in Christ. Because each one of you are far more than your likes and your shares and your follower count or how much of an influencer you are or how many hashtags and hash browns you post at the end of each of your posts. In baptism, you have been made a child of God. That's your identity. It's who you are, forgiven, redeemed, beloved, a son or daughter of God, our Heavenly Father. And no mouse click, no unfollow button or login information can ever snatch that identity away from you. I don't think any of us will ever be able to fully unplug from the digital world of social media. People try. Some are successful. I probably won't be. But mindful of its draw and the potential deification that lies within social media, I think can certainly empower us to wade into the waters of social media, aware of the risks and prepared to step back when we need to make sure that we don't give it the power to create our identities or define who we are, but rather to let our identity be always found in the life that we have hidden in Christ and the freedom that he has given us by setting us free from our sins, free from our fears, free from death and the grave, and who gives us life abundant now, the life even more abundant in the days to come. Thank you.